Good evening, this is the earnings bookie again, and for this little session tonight we're going to be looking at another earnings announcement from July 30th, and this is on RF Micro, RFMD. Just a reminder what we do here, we do earnings analytics looking for consistent reaction to earnings in stocks, and using our proprietary tools we actually identify stocks that do have good odds of continuing through into the next day's trading following the after hours trading. So we have an edge on everybody else trading in the market. So this is the earnings announcement from July 30th on RF Micro. Again, we're not concerned about what the actual numbers are. All we care about is what the reaction is. So when the earnings came out at 8:14, actually on July 30th, 2008, the market reacted. It was up 10%, reacting to the latest results and the guidance. So let's have a look at what we expect to happen with RF Micro. Our earnings notebook studies have indicated that over the long term, RFMD just favors a widening trend with more aggressive next day trading in 10 of the last 17 quarters. But the important thing here is in the near term, 3 wider moves in the last 4 quarters. So whatever it's done in the after hours, it's then expanded that the next day. So when we know what's happened in the after hours, next morning at the open or just before the open, we can get in once we know what's happened that previous night and earlier in the morning. We know where the stock is likely to go. The odds are in our favor. And this is some of the analytics that feeds into this. On the long side only, on RF Micro, the short side's not so good. On long only, 4 out of 5 times the stock followed through in the same direction by the close of the next regular day session. And when we compare that to the extended hours effective close, that's the period between after hours and pre-market when not a lot happens. Big number here. When it follows through, the price closed further in the same direction on average by 7%. So whatever it did in that after regular market hours, it then expanded on that by 7% on average on those 4 out of 5 times. So there's a pretty good odds here with a pretty good move. Remember, all in one day. So what happened after the earnings reaction? On this chart here, we've a 5-minute bar chart. Post-market gains prior to earnings announcement was up 10%. So it's slightly different here. We had a 10% move up before the announcement came. It was a little late coming through. But the big thing is, having gone up in the after hours by 10%, it followed through as much as 5% higher by the high of the day. Again, that's on top of that 10% in the after hours. By the close of the next day, it was up 3.8%. If you want to find out more about what we do here, there is a video here that explains what earnings analytics is. If you just look in the selection of videos we have, and it'll explain a little bit more about what we do here. So here's my updated chart on RF Micro. We keep this thing running forward. Those red arrows mark where the earnings events happened, and I'll just read you some of the numbers on this. I've just put in on the right hand side, it was plus 10% in the after hours, and then for a total gain loss into the next day of 13.8% up. So again, another 3.8%. So if you got in at the open, you could have snatched that 3.8 or even more if you got out near the high for the day. The previous event before that, we were down 6%, but it narrowed it by the end of the next day. So you can't win them all. But the event before that, it was down 3.4%, and then it widened it slightly to 3.7% by the end of the next day. The event before that, which is actually the October 2007, it was down 6% in after hours, and then continued through to 12.6% down by the end of the next day. Nice gain of 6.6% if you got in near the open on that day. And the one before that, it was up 5.4% in the after hours, right after the earnings, and then it continued through up 9.8%. I think you can see there's a consistency here, and we have the odds in our favor. And it continues like that back into the past. There's always 1 or 2 events that don't go in our favor, but what we look for is consistency. We don't look at any stocks that don't show any consistent pattern. We only look for ones that show the best odds of repeating the same action again and again. So that's it. That's RF Micro, RFMD.